Hello crafty friends, and welcome to a bonus Stamping September video. This video is in addition to our usual Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday schedule this month. I have here a big pile of stamps. I've pulled them out from my stash. They're all kind of grungy, mixed media type stamps. And I'm going to use them to stamp on some tissue paper to make some collage paper, and then use the collage paper on a clean and simple card. So first of all, I want to prepare my tissue paper for stamping on. It's very thin, easy to tear, easy to scrunch. So I've got a piece of A4 card, and I'm just gonna, when I can get my fingers and thumbs working, tape my tissue paper down to the card. And that will just make it easier to manoeuvre without ripping it, hopefully. I'm just using washi tape. This might mean I sacrifice the ends of the paper, but that's absolutely fine. For this piece of collage paper, I'm going to stamp on it using Walnut Stain Distress Oxide. It is water reactive, so if you add any wet medium on top of this, it will run. If you want ink that doesn't run, you'll need to use a permanent ink. An oil-based ink, alcohol-based ink, something like StazOn or archival ink. Next, I'm going to take my acrylic block and add my stamp to it. This isn't sticky at all, so I've just applied a little bit of stick glue, so it won't damage the stamp and it won't damage the block, and you can just wipe it off or pop it in the washing up. And then I'll just ink up my stamp and stamp it on. And now I'll do another one over here without re-inking, so I get a lighter impression. I've got another butterfly stamp here. This is a silicone stamp. I think this one came off the front of a card making magazine. Silicone stamps don't particularly like distress oxides because they're water-based, but this one seems to be doing an okay job. Now I've got a rubber stamp with some music notes on it. I'm not going to put this on a block. I'm just going to use some pressure from my fingers to add it around and about. So now we're building up some nice layering, I think. I'm trying to keep everything vertical, square on the piece of tissue, so that when I break it up into little bits, it all kind of makes some kind of sense. Now I've got this rubber stamp, and I'm actually going to swap colours just so things don't get too muddy. I'm sticking with brown, but I'm going for Vintage Photo this time. I think things are going to look muddy because I am using brown, but I want a bit of variation on my collage paper. I've got a couple of postmark stamps here. So we're really bringing in lots of different elements. We've got butterflies, we've got music, we've got postage stamps, or postmarks rather. These can go in any direction because they're circles, so they make sense. I've got here a photopolymer stamp that's sort of grungy and circular. I'm going to add that in pumice stone, which is a warm grey. So I want to add a floral element. I've got a little grungy floral. I'm going to add that in black soot distress oxide. It's quite fine line wise, so I think it won't overpower even though it's black. And with these smaller stamps you can fill in the gaps and you can do some nice layering. Now I've got some grungy label stamps. These say dream, imagine and create. So I think we'll use the black soot for them. And now to add something just a little bit extra, I'm going to spatter on some metallic in this reddy brown. This needs to be left to dry completely because when tissue paper gets wet, if you try and move it, it will rip. So I don't want that to happen right now. I want to control my rips when we get to that point. So I'm going to leave this and come back to it in a little while. So that's all nice and dry now, and I want to select a piece to use on my card panel. So I've got some water and a paintbrush, and I'm just going to draw with a wet paintbrush an outline. And now where that water is, I'll get an easy tearable edge. It's a little bit too big still. Just tear some more off. Doesn't matter if the ink smudges, it just adds to the grungy effect. So I think that'll do like that. To adhere my tissue, I'm going to put some matte gel medium on my card panel and brush it out. Now I can put my tissue on, press it down with a little bit of deli paper, just non-stick paper. Carefully remove it, and that is now stuck. And because I use matte gel medium, it won't leave any glossy smears on my card panel. I will, however, give my brush a good clean because I don't want that drying on my brush. As I said earlier, if you don't want your ink to run or diffuse, because the matte gel medium might affect it as well, then use a permanent ink to do your stamping. If you want to achieve this kind of look but without actually creating collage paper, then stick around towards the end of the video because I'll show you a way to do that. I do just want to take some white acrylic paint, get a little bit on my brayer, not a thick layer, and roller that over. Just let that meld together into one. While that's drying, I am going to create a focal image. So I've got a bit of vellum here and a feather stamp. I'll treat this with talcum powder to reduce any static, any moisture, any grease, and I shall stamp this. Whoops, when I can get hold of it. I really am fingers and thumbs today. I'll stamp this with embossing ink, and I'll dip that in my gold embossing powder. When heat embossing on vellum, make sure your heat tool is very, very hot before you start so that you can move swiftly over your vellum image. The vellum I've got is designed to go through laser printers, so it's designed to get heated up quite hot, so it works well with this, but you just need to test the vellum that you've got to see how well it handles being heated. I do have a die for cutting out this, and I found when cutting through vellum, it's really easy to line up your dies. Just flip them over and you can get them lined up from behind like that, and then washi tape them in place or use whatever tape you've got. And now I can run that through my die cutting machine. So that's cut perfectly, and that can go on there, but I want something behind it to separate the front from the back. So I've used this die to cut this from smooth white card. Not all of the little insert bits have come out, but that's absolutely fine. I could probably poke them out, but I don't mind a little bit of inlay, I think. For this, I'm going to use my high-tack all-purpose very sticky glue because it's very sticky and it will hold this down to the card while the glue dries. Just use the side of my tweezers to tamp that down into the glue and then pop it on down here. I'll get my non-stick deli paper again and press that down. Now there are lots of ways to adhere vellum. For this I'm going to use my Xyron sticker maker because it will fit very nicely in there. and it makes the whole of the back of the feather into a sticker. You just run it through and then press it down, and when you take the backing off, the vellum will now be a sticker. For my sentiment, I'm going to use the darkest brown walnut stain and take this Grungy label stamp that says thank you. Stamp it there twice, I think, just in case I mess up cutting the first one out. And I'm going to put a little bit of foam tape. This is very thin foam tape. I found some that's about 1 millimetre thick. So the card should still go through the UK postal system fine as a regular letter. And that can go on there, round about the middle. And you know what's coming next? It's the gold Nouveau drops. Again, this shouldn't add too much thickness to the card, but it does bring in a bit more bling, a bit more shine, and just a little bit of extra zhuzh. So there we have a relatively clean and simple. We've still got this white space here, so I think it just about qualifies as clean and simple, but it's made with some DIY collage papers. So what if you want the look but you don't want the DIY collage paper or any kind of collage paper? We'll take some masking paper and tear it into some strips. And then take a card panel and stick your torn strips on. Press them down well to create some kind of torn edge aperture on your card panel, and make sure everything else on your card panel is completely covered. You could cover it in masking paper, or you could just put a bit of paper over it or washi or something. Just grabbing a couple of post-it notes to cover up the rest of my card, so the only bit that's exposed is this area here within the torn edges. Now we can take the same stamps that we used earlier and stamp them on. You can also spatter, and you can leave it or you can use heat to dry it. If you wanted to, before you peel the masking paper off, you could bray it over some white acrylic to kind of marry everything together, or you could do that after you take the masking paper off, or you can leave it completely unacrylic. One of the benefits of using heat to do this is that it softens the adhesive on the back of the masking paper and makes it a little bit easier to remove. So we'll do this carefully. The post-it stuff will come right off really easily. This particular masking paper is a little bit more tacky. So what I tend to do is I peel it slowly. I hold the bit that I'm peeling down flat to the card and peel it away from the thing that I've masked so it doesn't tear into it if it tears. If any of the adhesive remains, take an eraser and just go over it, and that should lift most of it off. And there you have your little collaged area that isn't actually collage paper. And I'm just going to push it all back a little bit using white acrylic on my brayer. So there we have some DIY collage paper, a clean and simple-ish card made with the collage paper, and another way to create the collage paper look if you don't want to make your own collage paper. Right, that's it for today. I do hope you come back tomorrow for another Stamping September video. And if you'd like to share pictures of cards you've made this month, then do come along to my Facebook group. They don't have to just have stamping on them. They don't have to be clean and simple. Any cards you've made, feel free to come and share photos of them. The link to the group is in the video description, just click on more, and I will see you back here very soon. Thanks for watching, bye for now.